All right, let's get the obvious out of the way. Yes, this is my backyard. This is not a trail. And yes, I feel very awkward right now because all my neighbors, if they're hearing this, are going to think I'm a crazy person. But here we are. Hi, welcome to slightly cloudy suburbia in Australia. It's kind of crazy to think that a year ago I was about to finish the Northland part of the TA, arriving in Monkify and about to take a rest day. Feels like such a long time ago. A lot of journey to go, but I figured now that you guys have finished seeing my Northland adventure, I might actually walk through the gear that I took with me. Now, I want to preface this by saying that this is not going to be some crazy in-depth review of the items. That is for two reasons. One, pretty much everything that is in my pack has already been reviewed to death by other hiking creators on this platform. And two, I really have nothing to compare this stuff to. I haven't really tried any other different products for these bits of gear, so it would be unfair for me to say, I think this is the best gear you should take on trail. So really this is just gonna be me incoherently rambling for however long this video is about the gear, how I liked it, if I liked it, what went well for me, what didn't work well. So yeah, without further ado, yeah, that didn't work well, but that's okay. Right, let's start off with the big boy. This is my pack. This is an Osprey Exhaust 58 litre, and in short, it's fantastic. If you've seen my warm-up videos on the Carnarvon Great Walk and the Great Ocean Walk, you may notice that this is not the same pack that I took on those two trails. So my first pack, I believe it was a Black Wolf McKinley, about 65 litres. After doing those two warm-up hikes, I wasn't very comfortable taking it for the entire trail in New Zealand. The pack is quite heavy and it wasn't really giving me the comfort that I wanted out of a pack. And I found this guy. Now, I committed a bit of a hiking cardinal sin. I didn't test out this pack at all before I took it to New Zealand. I think I bought it like 2 weeks prior to flying it out to Auckland. All I did was I went to the shop that I got it from, got myself measured, got it recommended by one of the workers there, took it home, and then I put my stuff in it and I flew to the TA. So, fair warning, don't do that if you're going out, especially on a through hike. Test your gear out beforehand. Let's talk about the features. It is a very light pack. Obviously it's full of my stuff at the moment, but by itself, it weighs about 1.1 kilos. It only has one main section in here. In this section, I have put in this yellow pack liner, and then in the front, we also have this mesh pocket right here, and then two pockets down the side. Most people use these for drink bottles. I use these for snacks. And then also on the other side, hip belt, not as much padding as some of the other Osprey packs, because it's lightweight, hip belt pockets. This is mainly where I stored stuff like muesli bars or smaller snacks. Also on top is this detachable brain. So if you are more of an ultralight hiker, this can be removed to save a bit of weight. But for me, I need the space, so I took it with me. Yeah, I really like this pack a lot. Obviously it has a few holes in it. It's a lightweight pack. It's not gonna be as durable as some of the heavy models, but it works really well for me. And I really appreciate having a bit less weight on my back, especially early on as I was still trying to find my trail legs. Now what I've done is I have dumped all my main items in here, and what I'm gonna do now is just take them out one by one and just ramble about them until I give up. First up, what have we got? First item. First aid kit. This is quite a bulky one. There's a lot of items in here and I use barely any of it, but I appreciate having the peace of mind that if something did go badly wrong with me on trail, I would still hurt a lot, but I could treat it there until rescue could come. The main things I took out of here were band-aids and blister pads for my feet early on. It has a bunch of other stuff. I have some hiker's wool, that's really good. Some various creams, antiseptics, and then yeah, bandages and stuff there, so if things did go badly wrong, I would be okay. Quite heavy, but I think having at least a very basic first aid kit for a through hike is of utmost importance. Next up, what we got here, I have got, my tent. This is a Zempire Atom one-person hiking tent. If you have never heard of a Zempire before, you won't be the first one. I don't think I saw another person with a Zempire tent on trail. With more seasoned through hikers, you're gonna find, your Durstons, your Z-Packs, Big Agnes, MSR, Nemo. When I planned this trip, I had a budget in mind, and those ultralight tents just weren't in that budget. It is a bit heavier than a normal hiking tent. It's about 1.8 kilos all up. For me, starting out for a through hike, it worked a treat. Has one main quarters for sleeping in, with enough room that I could sit up, and also enough vestibule area for me to store my pack in. Also, really good waterproof rating, 0 issues with rain leaking or anything, but obviously condensation was a bit of an issue. I will say though, is that I have since retired this tent, mostly because of its weight, and now I'm in a space in my life where I can afford something a bit more expensive. I'm not going to tell you which model I've got yet because I've just come back from a hike where I've used that new tent, so in due time you will see what I have brought, and maybe I'll do a review on that tent in a later date. Cool. What have we got? Another small thing. This is my water bladder. Hydro Pack 2 liters. Yes, I went with a bladder instead of water bottles. The main reason being is that there is a nice little pouch for a bladder in this pack, and it means that I don't have to stop to take a drink. In the past, I have taken water bottles, but it means that most of the times I want to take a drink, the entire pack has to come off, grab a bottle, drink, back in, go. It's a bit tedious. The one issue with the bladder is you have 0 clue how much water you have left. Thankfully, on most of the TA, water isn't a big deal, but still a bit annoying. This really comes up to personal taste, whether you take a bladder or a water bottle. It's up to you. Next, what have we got? This is my sleeping pad. This is, hang on, I'm going to check the label here because I can't remember what it is. This is a Sea to Summit Etherlight XT. This is actually the female model because this came from my mum. She bought this for herself for a hike she did about a year or so before I went on the TA. And when I was starting to look for gear, she kindly lent it to me for the trip. The main difference between this model and the male model of this is that this one is just a bit wider. It's also nice and light, very easy to blow up. All you do with this is you just take it out here, unravel it, and then this clip here, undo the bag, attach the bag to here, and then you just fill up with that, and it works a treat. Had no issues with this at all, very comfortable. Once I got used to sleeping on this, apart from a regular mattress. I'm very happy with how this thing also folds down. It's quite compact, so it fits nicely in the pack. Yeah, no much to say about that. It's a good mattress. My cooking gear. All right, this is how I ate on trail. Now, I will preface this by saying that before this, all my multi-day hikes had been on some of New Zealand's great walks, and all the huts on these walks have gas stoves. So before I went on the TA, I hadn't actually used a gas stove on my own before on trail. So this was a new experience for me. And the stove I went with was this little guy, the MSR Pocket Rocket 2. And yes, that is how big it is. It is tiny. Just fold it out and then use this to screw it onto any gas canister you have. And it worked fantastically. It is a little expensive for its size, but it's a really excellent stove. Super easy to use, did the trick just fine. I saw a lot of other hikers using them as well, so if you're looking to do a through hike or a multi-day hike, it's a good model to look into. Right, this next item I can't really justify. This is my pot. Yes, I know, it's huge. This is the Sea to Summit X set. What it comes with is this massive 2.3 litre pot, and then also a bowl and a cup. Main reason why I brought this is that this is one of the legacy items that I have with me, and I figured it worked fine on those trails, it'll work fine on the TA. And it did, it worked fine on the TA. The trouble is that it was huge, so I got roasted for it a lot. I'm looking at you, Matt and Melly, but still an excellent pot. Silicon signs to make it fall down, titanium base to make sure nothing burns or anything. But yeah, it is huge and it's way too big for just one person. This set itself is actually made for 2 people. Also, I barely ever use this bowl. I just ate out of the pot, but the cup was quite useful. I've also retired this pot, but this cup I'm still using. I would highly recommend, if you're going on the TA, buy a smaller pot. I would still recommend getting this cup. You can't just get this cup separately, unless you're traveling as like a couple. Then it might be worthwhile. Now for some small items in here. Small knife, so I use this if I ever had any fresh veggies with me, plus fruit as well. A combination spoon and fork for eating dinners. And then also a small bottle of detergent and a sponge to wash up after I finished eating. I'm not gonna throw this. This is how I stay warm overnight. My sleeping bag. This is a Denali Capsule 300. This is another one of those legacy items that I carry with me from my past adventures. Weighs about 1.1 kilos, has a lower temperature rating of I think about 1 degree Celsius, so it is a 3-season bag. but for the TA in summer, that's really all you need. Actually, while I'm here, let's talk about where we should buy our gear from. My opinion is that if you're starting off hiking, if you're looking at doing your first multi-day or just even an overnight, I would recommend going for your more general outdoor stores. So in Australia, those are your BCFs, your Anacondas, that sort of deal. You actually just want to figure out if you actually like this as a hobby. Go for the cheaper gear, and then if you really like it, you want to take the next step further, go on a longer multi-day, or even go on a through hike, then go and look at your more specialist stores for your high-end gear. Budget dependent, obviously. Some of the high-end gear can be really expensive. This one was pretty cheap. In fact, this was a Christmas present, so it was free for me. That's my opinion anyway. But this sleeping bag kept me nice and cozy for the entire time. There were a couple of nights where I would have liked something that would have had a slightly lower temperature rating, but for almost every night, this was perfectly usable. I am retiring this bag as well because it's starting to look a bit worse for wear, and I'm at that stage now where I want a higher-end item. So, thank you, Deny Capsule. All right, sticking with the sleep system, this is my pillow. This is a little Sea to Summit pillow here. This was probably one of the few luxury items I had with me. Most hikers will just scrunch up their clothes and use that as a pillow. I wanted an actual blow-up pillow, very comfortable. Nice bit of warmth there as well on top. You don't need this, but if you want something a bit nice to sleep on, I really liked having it there. You can go over there, swish. So now we're coming into the stage where I'm just going through all my small items, so I'll be going through this pretty quickly. This is a small Denali backpack. It just folds up into itself. I use this as a carry-on pack for flights and also as a grocery bag when I'm buying groceries. All right, a couple of items in here. All right, this is my rain gear. This is my rain jacket. It's a Gore-Tex jacket from Kathmandu, not the Nepalese capital, the outdoor store. This one has lasted me on quite a few trails. Fits nicely. For the most part, in most rain that I faced in New Zealand, this works really well at keeping the rain out. The trouble is that because it's Gore-Tex, water doesn't go in, but also water can't get out. Basically, I got wet anyway, regardless of whether it was raining or not. But I still liked having it around. The other main feature I used it for was keeping the wind out, especially on some of those ridges where it got quite windy. It was nice to have that on to keep me a bit more warm and just for peace of mind as well. Also, I did also pack rain pants. So again, this also from Kathmandu. Similar issue, Gore-Tex, so my legs got very sweaty if I was walking in them. The other main issue I had with these is that they have no pockets. They have one pocket in the back, but nothing in the sides. Most of the time, my phone will go in the pockets here and I had no way to access them easily. So actually, towards the end of the trail, I just gave up on using these and just let my legs get wet. Hang on. Are you empty? Hang on. Are you empty? Come here. No, you're not empty. Why? Come on. These two dry bags, again, from Sea to Summit. Have you noticed I like Sea to Summit? This was used for carrying food and drink sachets. It carried just about 7 days worth of food. There were some sections where I just had to stuff food in my pack just by itself. It did the trick, and a small one also for my coffee sachets and stuff like that, which I liked. Is that the last one? Yep, so this is the last one from the dry bag here. This is my wallet, so it's just a little Kathmandu pouch. So this carried my passport, bank cards, a bit of cash on me as well. I just didn't want to bring my normal wallet over with me. This seemed like a nice, good alternative. All right, we've got a few items to go here. We'll start with this little guy here. My hiking pole. Yes, pole, singular. I only hike with one pole. I found out over in the TA is not normal. I thought it was. That's why I only use one pole, because that's what I was used to. The pole in question is a Lucky Kumbu Light. Extends out like that. Excellent, excellent pole. Considering before this, the poles I was used to were fairly cheap. This worked well for me. I obviously can't speak to other designs like your Black Diamonds or even your carbon fiber poles. All I can say is this worked well for me, although I would recommend going with 2 poles. This is my water filtration kit. So in here we have my Sawyer Squeeze. So this is the water filter I used, because even though it is New Zealand and it's pretty clean, you can't always trust that the water hasn't been used for agricultural runoff or any sort of other pollutants. So what I would do, open up this Cenox bag, fill that with water, screw on the Sawyer to the top here, and then as the name suggests, pop the lid open and then just squeeze that into my water bladder. It's advertised as basically stopping everything except for viruses, and in theory, it should last indefinitely, provided that you regularly backflush it, which I used this syringe for. Open up the top, fill the syringe with water, and then just push it through the top here, and that would push any gunk out and keep your filter churning nicely. Also make sure that if you are taking this somewhere where it may get below 0 overnight, put it in your sleeping bag, because if water freezes inside there, you've ruined it. Last couple of things. Now this, we can put under items that I'm glad I had, but also glad I never had to use. So just a little trowel here, in case I ever need to go to the bathroom where there was no toilet. I never actually had to use this because pretty much every hut has a toilet of very varying quality, and most campsites do as well. So glad I had it, glad I didn't need to use it. And then last thing from the pack is my pack cover. Along with the dry bag inside, I also had a pack cover to go on the outside. So that kept stuff like the outer pocket here, my tent, anything else out there, keep it dry from the rain. Yeah, it worked well, no problems at all. My pack stayed dry. Apart from the Wanganui River, it stayed dry the entire time. And the last piece of kit I'm going to talk about today, I stored it in the brain, my electronics. I had a bunch of electronics to take with me. I was filming the trip, so I had the GoPro that's currently filming me right now. Hello. It's also sitting on a small gorilla pod, and that was really useful if I wanted to snap a shot on like a signpost or a tree, or just to hold in front of me to vlog. Other items that I had with me, I had some other GoPro attachments. There's a little clip here, so I clipped this to my backpack strap and just use this. So if I was going over some really rough terrain, I had a really gnarly descent and I wanted both hands free, GoPro on this, attach the backpack so I could film whilst also using both of my hands. To keep things nice and charged, I had this guy, my big blue brick. This is a 20,000 milliamp power bank, and yes, it's as heavy as it looks. This is about 400 grams. I wish I got something a bit lighter, but I'm glad I had this much power storage with me for the trail, because there are some sections, as you'll see down south, where I was going over a week in between towns and places where I could recharge my devices. So having that much power, that was really good to have. Along that same line, this little guy right here. On the TA, you're going to be in a lot of wilderness areas, which are very remote and don't have mobile signal. So having some sort of way of contacting search and rescue if things go wrong is necessary. Most people will just take a small PLB, but the other alternative is to get a satellite communicator. So stuff like the Garmin InReach Mini, or this guy, the Zoleo. It just looks like a regular brick, but this thing, what it does is it connects up to the Iridium satellite network. And what you can do with that is, if things get bad, you can press the SOS button here. You can also message friends and family to let them know you're okay. And you can also get weather forecasts for the trail ahead. And it's those two features that made me really, really like this device here, apart from a regular beacon. If there's an area in the mountains where I'm concerned about the weather, if there's rain coming in, I can check that in advance. I would highly recommend, if you're going on a through hike, look at your satellite communicators, whether this or the Garmin or any other model. It does require a monthly subscription. Base price for this is $32 a month, but you can pay more to get more messaging and more stuff like that. All right, put that down gently. And that's it. And boom, seamless transition to the following week. Not because I forgot to say anything, but because I can't frame a shot and half my face was missing. So that's it. Those are all the main pieces of gear that were in my pack on the TA. There were obviously things that I missed out on, a few small items, plus I didn't talk about my clothes, my shoes, or anything like that. Chances are I will talk about those in a future video. All up, how much did my gear weigh? So base weight, everything that isn't water or food, came to around 12.5 kilos. I am not an ultralight hiker by any stretch of the imagination. I'm still somewhat new to this whole multi-day hiking business. There's a lot of items that I like having around, and of course that means extra weight, but I'm okay with that. And I was pretty happy with how almost all of my gear went. I have now made some changes since coming back from the TA. I'll keep refining what I bring on trail, and at some point maybe I will go ultralight, but for the moment, this is working well for me. I hope you all enjoyed this video. It's quite a bit different to my normal hiking vlogs you've seen on the TA, and I promise that if all goes well, the first South Island vlog will be out hopefully fairly shortly before the end of the year. But until then, safe trails, and I'll see you next time.